Thank you for tuning in to another edition of Not Church, where we encourage people to think. Yesterday, we started a segment about dealing with people who are passive aggressive and learning how to deal with these kinds of people in life. It can be quite a bit of a challenge to deal with people who are passive aggressive because you're sort of shooting in the dark. You feel things, your senses rise, the energy is different around people who are passive aggressive, and sometimes you leave feeling down, you leave feeling depressed because you know that this person or these people were silent towards you for a reason, or they didn't say anything, or they didn't show you any love or any emotion, or maybe they didn't care for a certain characteristic about you or your personality. And so, they talked about you behind your back. They wouldn't tell you directly, but you knew and you felt deep inside that there was something going on, and you couldn't put your finger on it, but you felt it. And we deal with that a lot in the church because people don't like to deal with things directly. They like to assume that you can read their mind, one. Or number two, they simply just don't care. And the love is not there. It is up to the believer in God to stand firm and to be the example of God in this area by not being passive aggressive, making sure you're stable, making sure you're standing and not being blown by what people think or say about you. That's the first thing. And the second way that we deal with people who are passive aggressive is we deal with them directly, because they have not mastered that skill. They don't understand that if they have a problem with you or an issue with you, it's better for them to come to you and share that with you so that you guys can clear all that up. What I've learned in life is that 9 times out of 10, if somebody got an issue with me, is probably based on some kind of misunderstanding. Or if somebody don't care for me, that's fine, because I love everybody. We love everybody, but quite frankly, if we're honest, right, we don't like everybody. And some people we just choose not to be around, and that is okay. It is okay to not spend the bulk of your time, if you will, around a certain people. But it's not okay to not show love. That is not okay. And so if you know in your heart that being around certain people knocks you off center because of whatever reason, then you need to make some adjustments within yourself. But don't do what they're doing to you. Ask them the question, do you have an issue with me? Do you have an issue with me? Matthew 18, chapter 18, verse 15 through 17 says, if your brother sins against you, right, go and tell him his fault between you and him alone. If he listens, you've gained a brother. If he does not listen, take 1 or 2 others with you, and then y'all try to convince him. And, if he refuses to listen to you both, just suck it up, let him know, and leave. Be at peace. Do what they don't have the courage to do with you. Now, we're not saying be disrespectful. We're not saying to you be rude to people. We're not saying that you be nasty, be ugly. We're saying to you that if you feel in your heart that somebody has an issue with you, you want to make sure you're not being paranoid. That's the other thing I'm going to say. Sometimes we go to these people, right? And, we feel as though they feel a certain way towards us, or they're acting passive aggressive, and we go to them, and it may be that you get a better understanding of what's going on. Maybe they had another personal issue going on that didn't have anything to do with you. Or let's say, for example, maybe they needed to ask you a question about your connection with someone else. I don't want to get too far in the mire and in the mud, but y'all get my point. Is that sometimes when you deal with things directly, you find out that you may need to make some adjustments, or you find out that it wasn't that way at all. Just bear that in mind. I was talking to my wife a little bit earlier this morning, and during our morning coffee and our morning talk, and she was telling me how this lady who she knew did not care for her at work was dealing with one of her customers, and she thought that the lady sabotaged one of her sales, only to find out when she dealt with her directly that it was something that she had forgotten to put into her customer's bag. So it wasn't the person that she thought had an issue with her did not do anything. It was the fact that she forgot to put something in the bag. So dealing with things directly just causes us to get things more balanced in our mind and in our life, so that we can move on in peace and move on in love. So that's the second way to deal with people who are passive aggressive. I'm going to end it right there. And we got one more thing for you in this area of passive aggression. The church definitely has folk who walk in that. I don't believe that's a good trait. I don't believe that's a trait of God. Hey, thank you again for tuning in, and thank you for being a part of a family that know what they believe and why they believe it. And remember, subscribe, comment, and it's okay to think. Until we meet again.
Everybody won't be on top, yeah. Whether the roof or the mountaintop.